ISO 27001 is built on the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. Clauses 4 through 7 handle the planning phase, understanding context, assessing risks, defining objectives, and building capability. Clause 8 is where strategy becomes action. It is the do phase, the operational implementation and control of the processes that make the ISMS real. Clause 8 has 3 subclauses: 8.1 on operational planning and control, 8.2 on information security risk assessment, and 8.3 on information security risk treatment. Together, they establish the operational discipline that keeps the ISMS functioning between planning cycles. In the next few minutes, we will explore what each subclause requires and why Clause 8 is where ISMS implementation is tested in practice. Let us examine Clause 8.1, the requirement to plan, implement, and control the processes needed to meet information security requirements. Clause 8.1 requires the organization to plan, implement, control, and maintain the processes needed to meet information security requirements, and to manage both plan changes and outsourced processes. The requirement to plan, implement, and control processes to meet information security requirements is the operational heart of the ISMS. It means that every significant information security process, access management, incident response, vulnerability management, change management, backup, and recovery, must be planned with defined inputs, outputs, and controls, actively implemented in daily operations, and controlled against established criteria. The gap between organizations that merely document these processes and those that genuinely operate them is what separates real ISMSs from paper ones. Establishing criteria for processes and controlling operations against those criteria introduces a service-level concept into ISMS operations. For each significant process, the organization should define what good performance looks like, a maximum response time for security incidents, a maximum window for applying critical security patches, a minimum backup retention period, and then measure actual performance against those criteria. This discipline is what makes the monitoring and measurement requirements of Clause 9.1 meaningful. Without defined criteria, there is nothing to measure against. Change management is one of the most operationally critical aspects of Clause 8.1. Plan changes, system upgrades, configuration changes, new service deployments, organizational restructuring must be managed deliberately, with information security implications assessed before the change is implemented. Unintended changes, configuration drift, software updates that alter security settings, unexpected system behaviors, must be detected, reviewed, and mitigated. The majority of security incidents in practice trace back to changes that were not properly assessed or controlled, making this requirement one of the highest value disciplines in the entire ISMS. The outsourced processes requirement in Clause 8.1 is significant for organizations that rely on cloud service providers, managed security services, outsourced IT support, or any other third parties to deliver processes that fall within the ISMS scope. ISO 27001 makes clear that outsourcing a process does not outsource the security responsibility. The organization must define the controls it requires of its suppliers, verify that those controls are in place, and maintain oversight of the supplier's performance. This requirement connects directly to the supplier security controls in Annex A. Documented evidence that processes have been carried out as planned is the audit trail that allows both internal and external auditors to verify that Clause 8.1 is being implemented in practice. Without documented evidence, an organization can describe its processes eloquently, but cannot demonstrate that they are actually being followed. Process documentation alone, the procedures and work instructions, is necessary but not sufficient. Records showing that the procedures were followed in specific instances are what close the evidence loop. Now let us examine Clauses 8.2 and 8.3, the operational risk management requirements that ensure the ISMS's risk posture is regularly reviewed and that treatment actions are actually implemented. Clauses 8.2 and 8.3 establish the operational risk management cycle, requiring regular risk assessments and the disciplined implementation of risk treatment actions throughout the life of the ISMS. The requirement to perform risk assessments at planned intervals operationalizes the risk management process established in Clause 6.1. The initial risk assessment conducted during ISMS implementation is not a one-time exercise. It is the first iteration of a recurring cycle. The standard does not prescribe a specific interval, but most organizations conduct a formal comprehensive risk assessment annually, aligned with the management review cycle. The planned interval should be documented and adhered to. A risk assessment that has not been refreshed in 2 or 3 years will be a significant finding in any certification audit. The trigger-based risk assessment requirement in Clause 8.2 is operationally important because significant security events do not wait for the annual review cycle. When the organization undergoes a major change, acquiring a new business, migrating to a cloud platform, launching a new product, experiencing a significant security incident, or entering a new regulatory jurisdiction, the risk assessment must be revisited. The trigger may be a formal change management process, an incident review, or a regulatory notification. What matters is that the risk assessment remains current and reflects the organization's actual risk context at any given time. Retaining risk assessment results as documented information creates the longitudinal evidence trail that demonstrates the organization is continuously managing risk rather than conducting risk assessment as a one-off certification activity. Auditors compare successive risk assessments to verify that identified risks are being tracked, that new risks are being identified as the threat landscape evolves, and that the risk treatment decisions are consistent with the organization's stated risk appetite. A complete set of risk assessment records tells the story of a mature, continuously improving ISMS. Implementing the risk treatment plan is the operational requirement that converts the risk management decisions made in Clause 6.1 into actual security improvements. A risk treatment plan is only valuable if it is executed. Controls selected in the statement of applicability must be deployed, policies must be enforced, technical measures must be configured, and procedural changes must be embedded in daily operations. Clause 8.3 creates a direct requirement that this implementation happens, rather than treating the plan as a strategic artifact that remains permanently aspirational. Retaining evidence of risk treatment implementation is the final piece of the Clause 8 evidence chain. For each risk treatment action in the plan, there should be a corresponding record demonstrating that the action was taken, a change record showing a control was configured, a training record showing a security awareness intervention was delivered, a supplier contract showing security requirements were embedded, or a test result showing a technical control was validated. This evidence transforms the risk treatment plan from a list of intentions into a documented history of security improvement. Clause 8 sits at the center of the ISMS lifecycle, translating the strategic outputs of planning into the operational activities that keep the ISMS functioning. The planning clauses let us bring together the essential points about operational planning and control under ISO 27001 Clause 8. If you want to implement the operational processes of ISO 27001, including Clause 8 process controls, risk assessment cycles, and risk treatment implementation, our complete Udemy course provides the step-by-step guidance, templates, and worked examples you need. Enroll today. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.